Most men think that walking away from a woman means they lost. They have been conditioned to believe that the man who stays, who keeps trying, who never gives up no matter how he is being treated, is somehow the stronger and more admirable one. That belief has quietly destroyed more male confidence and more potentially good relationships than almost anything else in modern dating. Here is what nobody talks about openly. When a man a woman has been taking for granted, or simply not fully showing up for, decides he has had enough and removes himself quietly and with self-respect, her entire internal world reacts. Not always visibly, not always immediately, but deeply and honestly in ways she does not fully control. The feelings that surface in a woman after a man walks away are not simple. They are layered, sometimes contradictory, and almost always more intense than she was prepared for. And understanding those feelings gives you a level of clarity about women and attraction that most men spend their entire lives without. Welcome back. Today we are getting into 9 real things a woman feels when you simply walk away. Not the surface level stuff, not the obvious reactions, but the honest psychological shifts that happen inside her when a man she underestimated finally decides to choose himself. This is not a guide to manipulation or mind games. This is straight, honest insight into female psychology that will change the way you see yourself and your value in any dynamic. Stay with me because this one is going to hit differently. 1. The second you left, everything she took for granted hit her at once. When a man has been consistently present in a woman's life, he becomes part of her normal without her even noticing it happening. His texts, his check-ins, his energy, his effort, all of it blends into the background of her daily routine. She stops seeing it as something special and starts treating it as something guaranteed. And it is only when that guaranteed thing suddenly disappears that she understands what she was actually dealing with all along. The moment you walk away, that comfortable background noise goes completely silent, and that silence is not peaceful. It is disorienting in a way she was not prepared for. Everything she glossed over while you were present suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. The effort you were putting in, the consistency you were showing up with, the space you were quietly filling in her life, all of it becomes visible the moment it stops. She had been going about her days treating his presence like a given, responding when she felt like it, keeping things casual, never fully committing to what was building between them. Then one day he stopped reaching out. No argument, no explanation, just absence. And within 48 hours, she was thinking about him more than she had in the entire time he was actively pursuing her. That is the painful irony of taking someone for granted. You never fully see what they were adding to your life until the addition stops. Your walking away does not just create distance. It creates sudden, undeniable clarity about exactly how much you were worth to her all along. 2. Why your absence does more than your presence ever did. This is one of those things that sounds counterintuitive until you understand how attraction and human psychology actually work. When you are present and consistently available, a woman's brain registers you as a constant. Constants do not create excitement. They do not create longing. They do not create the kind of emotional engagement that makes a woman stop and think seriously about what she has. Your presence, as valuable as it is, can actually work against you when it is given too freely and too consistently without boundaries. Your absence, on the other hand, creates something your presence never could. It creates space for her to feel the weight of what she had. When you are always there, she never has to sit with the question of what life looks like without you. The moment you remove yourself, that question answers itself in real time, and the answer is almost always more powerful than anything you could have said or done while you were still around. Absence also shifts the power dynamic in a way that nothing else can. While you were present and pursuing, she held most of the control in the situation. She decided the pace, the tone, and the level of investment. The moment you walk away, that control transfers quietly and completely. Now, she is the one wondering, waiting, and paying attention. That shift is not something she can logic her way out of no matter how hard she tries. Your absence speaks a language that your words never could. It says that you have standards, that your time has real value, and that you are not willing to remain somewhere you are not being fully appreciated. That message lands harder and stays longer than any conversation you could have had while you were still there. 3. She told her friends she was fine and then cried alone at night. There is a version of a woman that the world sees after a man walks away, and then there is the version that exists behind closed doors when nobody is watching. The public version is composed, unbothered, and completely in control. She laughs at the right moments, keeps her social media looking full and happy, and tells anyone who asks that she is doing absolutely fine. That version is real in some ways, but it is also the version she is performing for everyone around her, including herself. The private version is a completely different story. When the day winds down and the distractions run out, the feelings she spent all day managing start surfacing on their own. She replays conversations looking for the moment things shifted. She thinks about things she said that she maybe should not have. She picks up her phone and puts it back down more times than she would ever admit to anyone. That quiet, private unraveling is something most men never get to see because they are no longer there. Women are conditioned to protect their emotional image, especially around situations involving men. Admitting that a man's absence is affecting her feels like giving him power she does not want him to have. So she keeps the composed face on in public and processes the real feelings alone. That does not mean the feelings are not there. It means they are actually deeper than what she is willing to show. Understanding this should shift how you see a woman's reaction when you walk away. Her unbothered exterior is not always the truth. Sometimes it is just the armor she wears while she figures out how to deal with something that hit her much harder than she expected. 4. How walking away forced her to face what she was really doing. When you are present in a woman's life, she can avoid looking too closely at her own behavior. There is always something to react to, something to focus on, something external that keeps her from sitting with the honest question of how she has actually been showing up. Your presence, ironically, gives her somewhere to put her attention that is not herself. But the moment you walk away, that distraction disappears and she is left alone with a reflection she cannot avoid. What she sees in that reflection is not always comfortable. She starts noticing the times she was dismissive when she did not need to be. She remembers the moments she pulled back for no real reason, the times she kept things casual when something more genuine was right in front of her. She sees clearly, maybe for the first time, the gap between how she was treating you and how you actually deserve to be treated. That gap is hard to look at honestly. This self-reckoning is one of the most valuable things your walking away can produce, not for you necessarily, but for her. It forces a level of personal honesty that comfort never allows. A woman who never has to face her own behavior never grows from it. But a woman whose actions finally have a consequence, even if that consequence is just your quiet exit, is a woman who has to take a real look at herself whether she wants to or not. Most men never realize that walking away with dignity is sometimes the most honest thing you can do for both people involved. It removes the comfort that was enabling poor behavior and replaces it with the kind of clarity that only comes when the easy option is no longer available. 5. The moment she realized you were not coming back and what that felt like. There is a specific moment that happens inside a woman when she realizes that a man is genuinely not coming back. Not taking a break, not waiting to be chased, not giving her space while secretly hoping she reaches out. Actually gone. That moment feels different from anything she anticipated, because up until that point, some part of her assumed the door was still open. When she finally understands that it is not, something shifts in her that is difficult to describe but impossible to ignore. She had been telling herself he would reach out eventually, that this was just him pulling back temporarily the way men sometimes do. She kept checking her phone casually, kept half expecting his name to appear, kept living in that comfortable in-between space where she did not have to make any real decision. Then, enough time passed that the truth became undeniable. He was not coming back, and that realization landed with a weight she was completely unprepared for. The feeling that follows that moment is a unique combination of loss, regret, and something that sits uncomfortably close to panic. She is not just mourning the man. She is mourning the version of the situation where she still had options, where she could still decide to show up differently, where the door was still open if she ever chose to walk through it. His not returning permanently closes that door and forces her to live with the choices she made while it was still open. That feeling is not something she manufactures or exaggerates. It is a genuine emotional response to the permanent loss of something she undervalued while she had it. And it is one of the clearest signs that your walking away meant far more to her than anything she showed you while you were still there. 6. Why she suddenly sees your value the moment you stop showing it. There is something deeply human about the way we assign value to things we are about to lose versus things we already have. A woman can be fully aware of a man's qualities while he is present and still not feel their full weight until he is gone. It is not that she was blind to who you were. It is that your consistent presence made your value feel permanent and available, and permanent available things rarely feel precious in the moment. The second you stop showing your value through effort, attention, and pursuit, she is forced to measure it on her own terms. And measuring something on your own without it being handed to you almost always produces a higher number than you expected. She starts thinking about the things you brought to the dynamic that she never verbally acknowledged. The stability, the attentiveness, the way you always followed through, the way she never had to wonder about your intentions. Those things feel enormous in your absence. This is why men who walk away and immediately start thriving are so difficult for women to shake. When she sees that you are not falling apart, that your life is full and moving forward, it confirms what she already suspected but ignored, that you were genuinely valuable and she let something real slip through her hands. That confirmation does not feel good, but it is clarifying in a way that changes how she sees the entire situation. Stop waiting for a woman to verbally acknowledge your value while you are present and pouring into her. Sometimes the only way she will truly feel it is when you stop. Not as a strategy, but as a natural result of finally choosing to value yourself enough to walk away from what is not working. 7. She wants to reach out, but her pride is louder than her feelings. Here is something most men never get to know. After you walk away, there is a very good chance she has picked up her phone to contact you more times than you would believe. She has typed messages and deleted them. She has looked at your profile and closed the app. She has come close to reaching out and then talked herself out of it every single time. Not because she does not want to, but because her pride has convinced her that reaching out first means losing something she is not ready to surrender. Here's the honest criticism. Too many men interpret a woman's silence after they walk away as indifference. They assume that because she has not reached out, she does not care. So they go back too soon, they break the silence themselves, and they hand back all the power they earned by leaving in the first place. That move undoes everything. Her silence is not always a sign that she has moved on. Sometimes it is just pride doing what pride does, keeping her feet planted while her feelings pull her in a completely different direction. This is where most men lose the progress they made by walking away. They cannot sit in the uncertainty long enough to let the dynamic fully shift. They mistake her silence for closure when it is actually just her wrestling with herself in private. The man who can stay gone, who can resist the urge to check in or soften the exit, is the man who gives her feelings the space they need to fully surface and take over. Walking away only works if you actually stay gone long enough for it to mean something. Decide that your peace and your standards matter more than her immediate reaction. Be the man who chose himself clearly and completely. That man is the one she cannot stop thinking about, the one she respects the most, and almost always the one she eventually comes back to on her own terms. Here is the most provocative truth I can leave you with. The man a woman regrets losing the most is almost never the one who loved her the hardest. It is the one who loved himself enough to leave when she stopped showing up. That kind of self-respect is so rare that when a woman encounters it, even on the way out the door, it changes how she sees that man permanently. You do not become unforgettable by staying where you are not valued. You become unforgettable by having the courage to leave. Everything covered in this video comes down to one core message. Your value does not increase by making yourself more available, more accommodating, or more willing to absorb poor treatment. It increases the moment you decide that your time, your energy, and your peace are worth protecting. Walking away is not giving up. It is a statement about what you will and will not accept. And that statement speaks louder than anything you could ever say out loud. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever walked away from a situation and watched everything I described play out exactly as I said it would? Or maybe you are sitting with a situation right now trying to decide if walking away is the right move. Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one and I will be responding personally, because your experiences matter and these conversations are exactly why this channel exists. You already know what you need to do. Now go and do it.